Tomoya Satoshima drifted through empty space after a massive truck struck him while he crossed an intersection near his office one evening. He awoke before a stunning woman with long, pale hair and animal ears, who called him by name and knelt suddenly before him. The woman dropped into a frantic apology, insisting she needed to explain the situation before answering any of his growing questions. Sitting across a small table, she revealed herself as the goddess of creation, ruler over countless separate worlds and their fates. She explained that another god had caused a management error, already been sent to hell, and left Tomoya dead ahead of schedule. Tomoya realized returning to his old world was impossible, since reviving him now could destabilize the entire cosmic balance completely. He panicked upon learning that natural rebirth into another world would take hundreds of millions of years before it happened again. The goddess reassured him she could still fix things by reincarnating him directly into a different world instead of waiting. She described a fantasy realm governed by stats and levels, explaining that Earth's culture calls this kind of process reincarnation. She could send him to a healthy world far removed from his original timeline, though that old Earth would eventually collapse. As compensation for the danger, she promised him a generous set of cheat skills to help him survive there. She casually mentioned he had been 3 days from winning an enormous lottery jackpot before the accident ended everything. Overwhelmed, Tomoya accepted the offer, learning he had also been destined to live an unusually long, prosperous life on Earth. He suddenly stopped her, sensing she was rushing the reincarnation process far quicker than the situation seemed to require. Her nervous laughter and oddly formal Japanese convinced him she was still hiding something important about the transfer. She finally admitted that world had suffered under a demon king's invasion for more than 50 relentless years. Tomoya guessed correctly that she, as a superior god, was actually responsible for overseeing that troubled, war-torn world. She confessed that world would be destroyed without help, but her direct interference would throw the cosmic balance into chaos. Kneeling as instructed, Tomoya received his promised cheat skills through an unexpected kiss that left him startled and breathless. Her personality shifted playfully afterward as she teased him about how soft his lips had felt during the exchange. The goddess declared her spell complete, announcing Tomoya now ranked among the strongest beings across every world she governed. She teased him about being a virgin, then blushed while asking if their kiss had been his very first with a girl. Tomoya rubbed his neck awkwardly and asked her to explain the mechanics of his new powers before sending him off. She instructed him to speak the command, "Open Status," letting a glowing panel display his current combat statistics instantly. His stats showed enormous multipliers, granting accelerated experience gain, skill copying, and magic absorption far beyond ordinary human limits. Tomoya admitted the explanation felt messy, yet accepted that her blessing alone would keep him safe wherever he landed. She insisted there were no secrets left between them, though her nervous smile suggested otherwise as she waved goodbye. Without warning, a dark portal opened beneath him, pulling Tomoya downward as the goddess casually wished him good luck. Hours later, inside a burning village, orc soldiers dragged terrified women toward the square while slaughtering everyone who resisted. Their brutish general ordered the massacre to spare only women, boasting openly about the pleasures his victory would bring him. Among the captives knelt Lucia, a white wolf warrior mourning her brother, wishing desperately she had been stronger to save him. Nearby, another captured woman screamed for help as a second orc soldier eyed her hungrily, promising to take her first. Lucia lunged at the general in fury, but he swatted her aside effortlessly, mocking her rare bloodline before continuing his assault. He grabbed Lucia possessively, declaring her his new pet while his men prepared to attack the rest of the village. Suddenly Tomoya appeared, kicking a nearby orc aside effortlessly and telling the stunned villagers everything would be fine. Now, a furious soldier demanded his name, but Tomoya simply called himself an ally before crushing another orc with a single strike. One casual punch turned an orc's head into pulp, confirming to Tomoya that he truly stood inside another world. Now, the general warned his men not to charge Tomoya directly, suspicious that killing ordinary soldiers meant nothing about his real strength. Using Search Eye, the general measured Tomoya's visible combat power at only 550, deciding to finish him personally. Tomoya smirked internally, having deliberately hidden most of his true strength to avoid drawing unnecessary attention toward himself. Tomoya mocked the orcs as pigs, activating his battle support AI named Isis, who assured him victory would come easy. He unleashed a sweeping blade strike across the group before summoning wind, thunder, ice, and fire spears, overwhelming the confused orc soldiers. The goddess's blessing revealed an expanding list of superior elemental magics, showing Tomoya had gained far more attributes than expected. His cyclonic spin tore through soldiers effortlessly, leaving the general stunned that a supposed combat power of 550 could hit this hard. Facing a true reading of 2,000, the shaken general demanded a proper report while Tomoya prepared his next devastating attack. Isis revealed Tomoya's true fighting power at 220,000, plunging the surviving orcs into despair as their general lay defeated. The stunned soldiers insisted it was impossible for any demon to possess such overwhelming strength against their entire battalion. Nearby orcs whispered about a summoning spell, calling it their last trump card while Tomoya watched with curious suspicion. Isis quietly hid his true level again, dismissing the coming summon as inferior trash compared to enemies he defeated before. The general raised his card and screamed for a zombie dragon to rise from the darkness and devour Tomoya whole. The ancient undead beast emerged, its status multiplied by death itself, boasting immense power far beyond an ordinary living dragon. Tomoya's hidden ability, Dragon Influence, silently overrode the summoning bond, seizing full control away from the shocked orc general. The dragon suddenly turned against its own summoners, roaring furiously while the terrified orcs insisted they were never his enemies. Having tested his new command over the beast, Tomoya decided he was finished here and prepared to return home peacefully. When villagers begged to strike the final blow themselves, Tomoya lowered his blade and let Lucia's group finish the fight together. The girls marveled at his massive weapon storage, spilling blades of every shape across the ground for anyone to choose. Lucia selected a sword nervously while the defeated general begged forgiveness, awaiting his turn to face her long-overdue revenge. Crying out for her fallen brother, Lucia drove the borrowed blade downward, finally ending the general's brutal reign of terror. Tomoya admitted he probably should have finished it himself, but Lucia insisted she needed to deliver that final justice personally. That night she invited him to rest in town, and he thanked her instead for saving everyone from total destruction. Lucia noticed Tomoya staring, and he explained she resembled a childhood friend who died tragically in a traffic accident years ago. As he turned to leave for bed, Lucia suddenly called him Tomoya-chi, a nickname only one specific person ever used. She confirmed her identity as Sayaka, leaving Tomoya stunned that his childhood friend now stood before him wearing fox ears. She explained her wolf-race body came from her own reincarnation, though Tomoya still struggled to accept something this strange. Sayaka asked whether he had died too, and together they agreed to continue this reunion conversation somewhere more private. Sayaka studied Tomoya closely, remarking with surprise that he had grown noticeably taller and older since their last encounter together. She snapped at him for staring, covering herself while insisting he stop acting like a pervert during their private conversation. Sitting together on the bed, she admitted she doubted his identity at first, though 15 years had barely changed him. Handing him a mirror, she watched his shock grow when his reflection revealed a younger, more handsome version of himself. Confused by the mirror, Tomoya questioned whether some filter caused the change, but Sayaka insisted the reflection was genuinely real. He asked why her ears looked animal-like, and she gently corrected him, explaining they belonged to wolves, not dogs. Sayaka admitted her past memories returned suddenly, though she still could not explain exactly how she arrived in this world. She revealed she reincarnated inside Lucia's body after dying, raised afterward by an adoptive family since her real parents remained unknown. Tragically, that kind family had already died, though she remained grateful for the brief home and warmth they once gave her. Comparing timelines, Sayaka realized this was actually her very first day inside this world. Unlike Tomoya's 15 years here, she asked what he planned to do next, and Tomoya explained he intended to travel until he found his true purpose. Villagers begged him to escort them toward the city, since the destroyed town could no longer safely shelter every survivor. A wary local warned that thieves made traveling without food or protection nearly impossible, even for capable beastmen travelers. Sayaka worried aloud about dangerous forest monsters, admitting they would likely need to hunt just to survive the journey. She promised to reward Tomoya generously if he helped guide everyone safely toward the city she deeply wanted. Protected Sayaka offered herself as his personal reward, kissing him gently while whispering his name between soft, hesitant breaths. Catching her breath, she confessed she liked him now as a man, not simply as her childhood friend anymore. Torn between loyalty and feeling, Tomoya worried that rejecting her outright would feel unnecessarily cruel after everything she confessed, weighing her pride against her feelings. He realized this moment demanded a careful, honest choice instead of easy avoidance, gently declining her offer. Tomoya admitted he genuinely liked her too, but refused to accept affection born from obligation. Sayaka cheerfully confessed. She read his diary, learning his private preferences before boldly asking him to accept her as his wife. She wanted to serve him as dear husband, insisting their shared tastes made this arrangement feel oddly natural despite his confusion. Suddenly, her status revealed itself as captured slave, calling him master obediently, while Tomoya stared in complete disbelief at what happened. Daybreak light filled the room while he realized his new life in another realm had already altered deeply. Following checking his powers, he discovered mighty abilities linked to his companion. Later, he journeyed through a stony land while a dragon abruptly pursued him from behind. Terror rapidly grew as he tried fleeing the airborne beast. Amid the chase, Tomoya stumbled on the uneven earth and spotted blood beside him. Shock covered Tomoya as the worm abruptly barred his route. At the very years, the goddess's blessing completed installing within his form. Instants later, urgent sorcery triggered automatically and strengthened his bodily abilities. Without hesitation, Tomoya emitted a mighty fire strike toward the beast. After enduring the explosion, he charged forward and unlocked a blade aura skill during the combat. Shortly afterward, the beast collapsed while Tomoya's appraisal power triggered on its own. Tomoya discovered the monster's frail spot and assaulted its form with full power. Still after the blow, the dragon continued moving, while his skills increased his strike might during the combat. The urgent fighting state ceased once the guide confirmed its demise. Additional experience marks swiftly boosted Tomoya's rank beyond his predictions. New abilities healed his wounds completely and made his form much mightier than ahead. After defeating the worm, Tomoya finally realized that the mysterious call really came from a deity gift. Soon afterward, the guide presented itself as a guide created to lead him safely through the unfamiliar realm. An image of the deity arrived and clarified that only her wisdom. Afterward, Tomoya questioned whether the assist guide had its own title. Since no designation remained, he began thinking of a basic title for his fresh companion. Tomoya decided to give the assist guide the title Isis because its call sounded womanly. Afterward, Isis formally recognized Tomoya as her owner and pledged to continue assisting him in the other realm. Interested regarding her powers, Tomoya asked how much assistance she might offer. Rather, she urged him to initially understand his present circumstances and surroundings. Soon afterward, Isis stated that they were located beside Worm Mountain on the Castral landmass. Isis clarified that the worm came from one of the deeply dangerous labyrinths in the landmass. Tomoya recognized the deity had mistakenly placed him in a deadly location much beyond his present strength. Despite criticizing the deity's careless choice, Isis yet focused on aiding Tomoya endure the harsh environment. She advised him to gather resources from the defeated dragon ahead extra monsters arrived nearby. He triggered a skill and produced materials straight from the dragon's form. Tomoya learned that defeated monsters might be converted into crystals, containing precious resources and arcane power. Isis clarified that explorers often sold fiend resources or reapplied them later through regeneration techniques. After keeping the crystal, Tomoya considered how much the closest mortal settlement might be. Unfortunately, Isis judged the closest village was nearly many kilometers off from their location. Ahead he might react further. Several violent creatures abruptly surrounded the area. Several mighty dragons abruptly arrived nearby Tomoya, each possessing terrifying combat strength much beyond ordinary monsters. Between them, a holy worm sovereign revealed itself as the mightiest enemy in the area. Tomoya stayed composed while Isis spotted terror yet had not fully controlled his heart. Instead than retreating, he moved ahead with determination and declined to abandon the battle. Instants afterward, the surrounding dragons moved in and boxed Tomoya from each direction. After the combat ceased, Tomoya unwittingly triggered a secret luck ability connected to his special title. Soon afterward, his rank grew dramatically, while the deity blessing amplified the experience he earned from the dragons, wondered whether his present power was really enough for the dangerous landmass. She alerted that unprocessed beast corpses might eventually revive as hostile undead creatures. Ahead leaving, Tomoya stored the remains safely within Isis's unique storage void. Tomoya discovered an ancient relic after Isis noticed a weak arcane response nearby. Within the relic, a dragon figure abruptly spoke and praised Tomoya for defeating the monsters outside. Figure clarified that it enabled communication through an arcane statue connected to its creator. The Wyrm then stated that fiends had assaulted the sacred dragon emperor and slaughtered his companions through the mountain. Fallen dragon lords had accepted demise happily while defending their territory. The Wyrm soul rewarded Tomoya for defending its dropped allies. Ahead disappearing, the holy worm sovereign presented himself to Tomoya. While searching farther within the relic, Tomoya discovered a huge collection of rare weapons and tools stored in ornate chests. He acquired an indestructible sacred blade, whose overwhelming might much exceeded ordinary weapons. Shortly afterward, Tomoya analyzed a strange gem that contained ancient knowledge and enormous arcane capacity. Tomoya obtained several fresh skills and ranks connected to ancient knowledge secret within the artifact. He found an unusual ability description that made him completely uncertain about its true reason. Soon afterward, Tomoya tried his newly gained airborne ability and journeyed through the air with Isis guiding his movements. Isis detected several life signs disappearing within a close town and alerted him to advance carefully. Immediately altered route after hearing that fiends were attacking people across the area. Tomoya finally arrived the town after enduring dangerous conflicts and recalled the goddess accountable for sending him there. Later, he stopped near Sayaka after defending her from threat during the difficult travels. The following daybreak, calm finally returned as Sayaka quietly greeted the start of a new time. After leaving the woods, the party continued journeying toward the city with several carts hauling supplies. Tomoya stayed alert at night to watch the site while preparing monster food collected along the road. Later, Misha sensed thankful for Tomoya's aid and started staying near to him throughout the trip. Party discussed Misha's years and their deepening bond amid the dangerous travels. Soon afterward, Tomoya concerned about his reputation while the rest continued mocking him amid the evening. Misha asked Tomoya to coach her after recognizing how frail she had been amid latest battles. Determination covered her heart as she pledged herself to battle harder for the beings she cared about most. He agreed to aid and started showing her combat skills each time. During one nighttime practice, the guidance became uneasy when they went too close to each other. She gradually raised her powers while continuing her intense training near Tomoya. Several days later, Tomoya noticed threat while the party stopped near the woods on their way to Amrud. He alerted everybody that a large power of people and beastmen was approaching their site. Elsewhere, the attackers readied to rob the journeyers after noticing the flame and supplies nearby. Violent party encircled the area and ordered the journeyers surrender everything they carried. Facing the danger quietly, Tomoya stayed sitting while preparing himself for the coming combat. As the raiders approached the site, Sayaka moved forward and asked Tomoya to let her manage the battle alone. Enemy mocked at her appearance and thought a single girl might never endanger their party. Sayaka abruptly assaulted and eliminated one of the raiders ahead the others understood what occurred. Terror rapidly grew through the party after witnessing her overwhelming strength and stern expression. The surviving raiders realized they had challenged somebody much mightier than expected. After taking major losses, the surviving raiders abandoned the battle. Back at the site, Sayaka happily clarified that Tomoya's guidance helped her become much mightier than before. Party securely reached at the city of Amrud, despite the dangerous strike on the route. Lydia rejoined with Sayaka and apologized for fretting after learning reports about the event. Later, the leader of Amrud greeted the journeyers while introducing personally as the city's guardian. City ruler greeted Tomoya's party and pledged them security during their stay. Later that evening, Tomoya silently sat alert while thinking deeply about his prospect and deepening responsibilities. Though the city sensed peaceful, he thought staying there permanently would only pause his real aims. He chose to continue journeying and intended to enter the Adventurers Guild in another town. Sayaka grew concerned that their travels jointly might shortly come to an end. That night, Sayaka admitted that she might never depart Tomoya behind because her emotions for him had grown too potent. Tomoya chose they should continue journeying jointly through the realm. He grew suspicious after noticing unusual actions nearby the breakfast readied for him. Tomoya discovered that the meal contained a dangerous toxin potent enough to slay ordinary beings. Later, he recognized somebody in Amrud desired to separate him from Sayaka by quietly attacking him. After revealing the poisoning attempt, Tomoya praised Lutar for the hospitality ahead departing the estate with Sayaka. Soon afterward, the couple departed through the city roads with ideas to formally become adventurers. At the guild building, Tomoya requested enrollment for each personally and Sayaka as fresh explorers. The receptionist then asked him to put his palm on a crystal used to inspect individual abilities and history. Guild proved that Tomoya held no illegal history and finished his enrollment. Within the guild, the receptionist clarified that adventurer enrollment required background reviews. Afterward, Tomoya listened carefully while hearing how adventurers advanced from the bottom tier to the mightiest rank. A mighty seasoned adventurer abruptly approached the desk and interrupted the discussion. He grew stunned after feeling the overwhelming arcane force surrounding Tomoya. Recognizing Tomoya was much mightier than expected, the seasoned immediately questioned whether he was really a beginner adventurer. After seeing Tomoya's secret power, the seasoned adventurer requested a closed meeting with him. The couple filled a silent room where guild staff readied drinks while the discussion began. Seasoned clarified that Tomoya's true combat ability was much beyond the rank of a normal novice adventurer. Though Tomoya attempted hiding his shown might, In response, the season stated that he possessed a scarce skill capable of precisely feeling another person's real strength, likened Sayaka's power to an A-rank warrior, and admitted Tomoya's might was past imagination. After feeling his aura, the male admitted Tomoya reminded him of the fiend ruler from the old war. Though stunned by the comparison, Tomoya listened carefully as the seasoned offered him a unique benefit. The guild pledged March payment for prospect tasks if he accepted dangerous requests. In addition, Tomoya earned premium lodging while remaining in Amrud. The guild gave Tomoya a rapid promotion, money, and unique journey benefits in return for difficult missions. However, the seasoned clarified that only somebody with Tomoya's secret strength might complete the dangerous request. After considering closely, Tomoya considered whether accepting the mission would aid his prospect travels. Soon afterward, the seasoned chose to present Tomoya to other crucial person connected to the guild. Instants later, a servant silently filled the chamber to welcome the visitors. Tomoya grew startled after a mysterious young lady filled the room, calling everyone's attention with her calm appearance. Tomoya met Sonyul after getting her as a short-term combat slave for coming tasks. Details from Isis's library stated various slave types. Shortly after, the party discovered about a goblin rob gathering beside Mitra City. Though she doubted the mission's difficulty, Tomoya quietly chose to reveal his secret powers. From the hill, the party eventually spotted the goblin battalion delay through the plains. Tomoya questioned Sonyul to demonstrate her powers while the rest observed from away. Electric power rapidly formed nearby her form as she prepared a defensive magic against the approaching enemies. Lightning assaults struck the goblins one after other, forcing the beasts into confusion while Sonyul went with precise manage. She adjusted the strategy and chose an assist duty for the brief combat forward. He readied to confront the foe party straight beside his companions. Tomoya decided to battle straight rather of relying on huge magic attacks against the goblin troops. Beside Lucia, he charged into combat and fallen several enemies with fast blade movements. From away the field, Sonyul silently watched his unusual fighting style and reactions. Shortly after, the party cleared deeply of the goblin battalions spread through the plains. Sonyul spotted Tomoya's stiff movements as he struggled to stay managed amid fighting. She alerted the party that the mission had grown much extra dangerous than expected. After learning her concerns, Tomoya finally chose to reveal the actual scale of his secret abilities. Soon after, an enormous goblin power arrived through the plains with hundreds of enemies approaching jointly. Tomoya quietly viewed the immense figures as the ideal chance to act. Explosive sorcery then rained through the battlefield, immediately destroying huge sections of the approaching goblin army. Explosive sorcery continued tearing through the battlefield, departing the surviving goblins unable to avoid the strike. Surprise rapidly grew through Sonyul's face as she witnessed the overwhelming destruction caused in only instants. Party obtained experience in their fighting powers raised from the successful mission. Though Sonyul wondered Tomoya's advanced flame magic, she realized his true strength surpassed her predictions. Ahead departing the region, the party abruptly noticed another powerful disturbance rising from the center of the battlefield. The enduring Goblin Emperor arrived from the battlefield, revealing himself as the ruler of the entire Rob power. Monster abruptly emitted hostile power, while Tomoya watched the dangerous change carefully. Goblin Sovereign transformed into a much mightier Atlas-type creature with overwhelming fighting might. Sonyul clarified that defeating too numerous goblins too rapidly had triggered the abnormal growth procedure. Despite seeing the enemy had become extremely dangerous, the party still readied personally to continue the battle together. She alerted that the advanced Goblin Emperor might endanger the nearby city if made unchecked for too long. Ignoring the threat, Tomoya moved ahead alone and readied to end the combat with his own strength. He asked the rest to judge whether he really merited the task benefit. Worry spread through the party as they observed him approach the enormous monster without hesitation. The Goblin Emperor then rushed forward violently, starting the critical clash versus Tomoya, rushed ahead with tremendous power, attempting to crush Tomoya in a direct strike. Without displaying terror, Tomoya blocked the monster's blow using only one palm. Surprise grew through Sonyul's face as Tomoya effortlessly drove the enormous creature backward amid the clash. He triggered a mighty skill and readied a critical strike versus the transformed Emperor. A blazing slash then sliced via the battlefield, severely damaging the Goblin Sovereign in a lone strike. After defeating the Goblin Sovereign, Tomoya's rank in fighting might raise dramatically. While the rest commended him, Tomoya quietly asked Sonyul for her honest evaluation of the finished task. Hesitation covered her expression ahead. She finally chose to reveal an individual appeal to him. Gathering her bravery, Sonyul questioned Tomoya to purchase her and stay her by his position forever. Shortly following, the party returned to the trading company to settle the issue formally. She formally requested approval to become Tomoya's permanent combat slave rather of surviving a short-term rental. Tomoya acknowledged he had no objections following learning praise regarding Sonyul's powers and reputation, clarified that purchasing her contract would require a vast amount of money via a prospect sale. Party discovered that a wealthy diplomatic official intended to buy Sonyul for individual reasons, refusing to depart her with such a cruel male. Tomoya instantly took the challenge to protect her, stunned everybody by announcing that Sonyul merited much more than the expected auction price. The company owner responded with amazement after learning Tomoya pledged to prepare 30,000 gold pieces inside a month. He boldly proved his choice and cleared the agreement without delay. As the meeting ceased, the owner silently recognized why Sonyul had become fastened to Tomoya so rapidly. Tomoya admitted that aiding Sonyul was also anything he honestly desired for personally, pledged Sonyul that he would definitely purchase her contract and guard her from the next sale. Lucia invited Sonyul for a close talk while the party stopped jointly peacefully. She acknowledged she had misjudged Sonyul's bond with Tomoya and assumed a loving relationship. Embarrassment rapidly spread through Sonyul's face as she apologized for forming unnecessary misunderstandings inside the party. Elsewhere, Tomoya stayed unaware that his deepening reputation was slowly attracting extra attention from those nearby him. Lucia urged Sonyul to assist Tomoya jointly while strengthening their connection as allies. Shyness covered Sonyul's expression, but she yet took Lucia's emotions sincerely. Shortly after, each females agreed to stand near Tomoya equally and treat each other as reliable partners. Their handshake marked the starting of a mighty alliance that would later grow famous through the realm. Tomoya silently enjoyed his meal and observed the composed atmosphere nearby the roads. He departed to the association headquarters to receive an urgent task from the Grand Association owner. Reports stated that an intelligent canine tribe had begun a war versus the city for unknown reasons. The realm struggled to respond since the monarch might not manage the deepening crisis alone. Normal citizens continued their daily activities without recognizing the threat stirring nearer to the city. Tomoya recognized the citizens yet stayed calm despite the troubling situation spreading through the city. A frail past lady abruptly collapsed near him, and hunger arrived to be the cause of her condition. Following getting meal from Tomoya, she rapidly regained her power and continued eating without hesitation. She insisted on repaying his care ahead departing the street. Her unusual repayment included offering herself as his future bride rather of taking money. The unusual lady abruptly offered to solve any issue troubling Tomoya after getting his kindness. Another mail arrived and revealed that the lady actually kept great authority inside the country. Ahead departing, she continued, mocking Tomoya and pledged they would meet anew in the future. Tomoya returned home yet uncertain about the unusual meeting from prior that time. Not long after resting, two women unexpectedly reached him and wondered his unusual actions. Two women abruptly neared Tomoya and attempted to attract his attention with bold deeds. Though he grew uncertain by their actions, one of them remained determined to satisfy him in her own way. Other maiden clarified that her companion really desired to devote self completely to Tomoya. As the unusual situation continued, each woman carefully attempted to satisfy him despite his uneasy response. Tomoya spotted anything unusual about one maiden ahead. The atmosphere finally cleared down. After spending extra years together, one of the women freely promised her loyalty and became deeply fastened to Tomoya. He spotted an unusual ability had triggered because of the growing relationship nearby him. Several officials collected to ready for the dangerous mission versus the coming danger. Amid the talk, strain raised as crucial members continued arguing over risky decisions and responsibilities. Another ruler reached at the room, making everybody nearby to shift their attention toward the meeting. An influential official greeted the collected officials ahead. The strategic discussion formally began. Tomoya recognized the very official was linked to the sale involving Sonyul. Shortly later, the party discovered that the Spirit's Woods contained an unexplored dungeon tied to the Fenrir conflict. Since of the rumored treasure secret there, several powerful elites decided to journey into the dangerous woods jointly. Members presented personally formally as the expedition party readied for the upcoming mission. Amid the travels, Ariel apologized for speaking too formally and pledged to assist Tomoya from then on. Embarrassed by the circumstances, Tomoya attempted to respond lightly while Ariel adjusted her manner of speaking at him. Ariel commended his deepening blade abilities and asked him to call her extra naturally. Elsewhere, Sonyul defended her loyalty to Tomoya following Ariel wondered her unusual loyalty at him. Lucia alerted that giving Sonyul along might grow dangerous amid the mission ahead, apologized for his son's prior actions, and greeted Tomoya respectfully simultaneously anew. Instead than becoming offended, Tomoya quietly dismissed the issue and treated the event as youthful immaturity. Luther spotted Tomoya's unusual maturity despite his youthful look and deepening growth. Soon afterward, the atmosphere nearby the woods abruptly altered, making Tomoya to become cautious. Sonil confidently moved ahead and volunteered to manage the circumstances self-deep. Within the woods, several Fenrir encircled the party and barred the path with clear hostility. Surviving calm, Lucia moved ahead and attempted to speak peacefully with the Fenrir ruler on behalf of everybody. He abruptly obtained the power to grasp the language spoken by the beasts. The Fenrir ruler ordered the recovery of a stolen treasure and declined to part without it. Tomoya interrupted the tense return and wondered the reality away the absent treasure. Fenrir ruler closely wondered the inconsistencies among each sides of the conflict. Trying to calm the situation, Tomoya proposed exchanging information initial ahead, taking any hostile decisions. To everyone's astonishment, Lucia found that Tomoya might now grasp and speak the Fenrir language fluently. Elsewhere, the party recognized they lacked enough years to fully investigate the reality behind the accusations. Party divided their roles while Lucia and Tomoya stayed away to keep negotiating with the Fenrir. As the discussion grew extra dangerous, Lucia's companion declined to let her stay beside the Fenrir negotiations alone. Lucia sternly scolded him for questioning each her reasoning and abilities. Tomoya chose to manage the negotiations personally to reduce the risks nearby Lucia. Without telling, Lucia abruptly struck him through the face after fading patience with his stubborn actions. Elsewhere, the rest remained in total surprise while Lucia continued scolding him for ignoring everyone's concerns. Following fading her temper, Lucia pinned the knight down and alerted him to halt treating her carelessly. Elsewhere, Tomoya recalled how Lucia once punished youths who bullied Sayaka amid the former. Wanting to calm the situation, he blocked Lucia ahead the knight suffered, still extra damage from her rage. Once the argument cleared down, the party finally continued cooking for the Fenrir negotiations jointly. Lucia grew mentally unstable. Ariel stayed away while the boy continued journeying via the realm with her. Though she might not understand the language well, Ariel gradually reliable his deeds. Amid their travels, Ariel acknowledged she yet lacked maturity, despite trying to act like an adult lady. Soon, the boy stated he was only 10 ages past, departing Ariel stunned by his appearance. Later, Ariel clarified her developed form often caused rest to error her years. Ariel sensed insecure about her prospects since she might not improve her blade skills or behave like other adults. Elsewhere, the boy urged her by saying she previously seemed ripen and adorable despite her worries. Shortly following, he made Ariel stand and led her toward Fenris while settling her embarrassment. She grew flustered when he pledged to formally assist and guard her. By the finish, Ariel's emotions increased rapidly, departing her completely overwhelmed by his kindness. Ariel acknowledged her mistakes and asked for punishment while her unusual ability caused her form to action on its own. Ahead, the situation grew worse. A silver wolf abruptly arrived and interrupted their closed point. Rather of battling, the boy quietly chose negotiation and lowered the strain between each sides. Party readied to meet the sovereign while Ariel stayed embarrassed by prior events. Deep within the cave, they eventually remained ahead the Silver Canine Sovereign. Tomoya wondered the Silver Canine Sovereign regarding the Fenrir treasure and the sacrifice linked to it. Clarified the treasure was a crystal gem made behind after the earlier emperor's demise. Though Ariel knew nothing about the jewel, she recalled learning accounts connected to its mysterious might. Soon, another figure revealed the jewels might grant strength higher than anything in the realm when collected jointly. Absorbing still one gem already provided enormous might beyond typical mortal ability. Clarified that sovereign jewels were extremely scarce treasures created only by emperor species ahead demise. While discussing the dangerous apex gem, the boy stated knowledge about the worm emperor jewel's secret inside the sacred mountain. He stunned everybody by admitting he previously held all several legendary jewels. The canine instantly connected his claim to the fallen Holy Mountain Emperor from the past combat. Silver Canine Sovereign finally acknowledged the boy as somebody much past an ordinary mortal, acknowledged he not intended to use the mighty jewels despite understanding their threat. Silver Canine Sovereign chose to temporarily recover the clan's gem to him. Though concerned about the prospect of the clan, the wolf reliable the boy to protect the treasure formally. Shortly, the boy pledged to recover the surviving gem ahead enemies invaded the capital. Elsewhere, two small Fenrirs neared them, astonishing Ariel with their adorable look. The Silver Canine Sovereign presented the playful pups as the following generation of prospect emperors. Later, the party reported their talk to the realm while explaining the Fenrirs only desired their treasure returned. However, confusion grew after officials wondered why the Fenrirs had quietly ordered the Fenrir jewel. He clarified the answer might only be found through the Silver Canine Sovereign gem. Other Elder admitted he knew zero about the gem despite learning reports about it. Tomoya stated he possessed several sovereign jewels, but considered selling them since he might not use their might. Elder frantically gave vast amounts of gold in return for the scarce treasures. Soon, the past male realized the jewels' true worth much surpassed ordinary wealth or common trade. Without delay, he paid all he had just to eventually obtain the legendary jewels. The elder welcomed gladly while the boy yet lacked information about the silver canine sovereign jewel, collected each sovereign jewel but failed to activate their secret might. Abruptly, the boy drifted into the air as the jewels responded strongly to his presence. Recognizing the Silver Wolf Emperor jewel was genuine, he rapidly took manage ahead anyone might steal it. Following securing the gem, the boy readied to recover it to the Fenrir clan without pause. However, the Silver Canine Emperor jewel abruptly merged into his form and deeply increased his might. Panicked after recognizing the Silver Canine Sovereign gem had fused into his form without permission, though he checked for a way to remove the gem. He learned the procedure might not be reversed easily. A deadly atmosphere grew through the woods, making the boy to grow cautious. Instants later, several Fenrirs encircled him and barred each possible escape route. Ahead he might react formally. One of the Fenrirs abruptly lunged toward him with hostility. The Fenrirs abruptly assaulted, forcing the boy to heal his injured arm while fleeing closely. The Fenrirs were battling with coordinated tactics rather of careless assaults. Shortly after, several mighty strikes exploded nearby him as the surrounding Fenrirs moved the distance. Tomoya continuously recovered his injuries and recognized his fighting might kept increasing during combat. Elsewhere, surrounding him with immense force from each side, Silver Canine Sovereign emitted an overwhelming aura while revealing his actual power. Sovereign clarified the Fenrirs had been cursed and compelled to strike by their own instincts. Though the hex might not be removed completely, the Emperor accepted the painful truth quietly. Teardrops fell from the Emperor's gaze as he admitted the Fenrirs had committed an unforgivable sin. Tomoya silently took the Emperor's last emotions and realized their taking. He triggered his battling soul aura and readied to end the Fenrir's suffering peacefully. The Silver Canine Sovereign rushed forward fiercely, accepting the boy's last strike without hesitation. A mighty slash sliced via the darkness as the boy emitted all of his power at once. Shortly following, the Fenrirs collapsed silently through the woods while rain poured over the battlefield. Located near the dropped Emperor, the boy silently mourned the tragic end of the cursed Fenrirs. Tomoya finished the magic crystal appraisal and walked through the silent woods with guilt filling his heart. Several wolf cubs were found dead on the earth, making him to halt in shock while rage and remorse overwhelmed him, realizing harmless souls were gone because of his actions and careless might. Despite holding unmatched power and limitless sorcery, the reality stated the cubs had captured the Silver Wolf Emperor's orb long ahead he reached. Tomoya fell in grief as the unusual name ability responded to his sorrow. Crystals abruptly returned from vault and encircled him while a fresh spirit skill unlocked. An enormous crystal gathered ahead his gaze after the synthesis process completed. Power collected nearby the dead canine cubs, departing him frozen in confusion. Bright sunlight covered the woods ahead a mysterious lion. Like Soul finally arrived. The summoned canine emperor revealed its overwhelming might while the surrounding Fenrirs collected ahead it. Soul gems reacted to the emperor's presence and made a connection with Fenrir's soul. Tomoya observed silently as the crystal responded and the holy field covered with sunlight. The canine sovereign accepted him as the fresh inheritor of the ancient name. Fenrir's soul praised Tomoya for ending the curse that had pushed the Fenrirs into insanity, clarified that the hex had already doomed the Fenrirs long ahead Tomoya reached. The canine sovereign acknowledged its surviving consciousness would shortly disappear forever. Ahead fading off, Fenrir entrusted the soul gems and the enduring pups to Tomoya. Tomoya took the responsibility while the sovereign showed thanks for hauling their will. With a last howl, Fenrir vanished peacefully, departing the youthful Fenrirs to follow Tomoya's route. Daybreak reached as Tomoya continued journeying with the young Fenrirs through the silent forest. Strange male watched Tomoya through an arcane crystal, while showing great curiosity in his strength. After hearing Tomoya had fallen the Silver Canine Sovereign, the newcomer decided to make him a future target. A black smile arrived through the man's face as dangerous ideas slowly formed in his heart. Elsewhere, another figure reacted fiercely within a distant palace after receiving surprising news. The aristocrat panicked after learning each arcane orb in his possession had grown worthless. Abruptly, a mysterious lady arrived within the room and interrupted his irritation. She stated that the Silver Canine Emperor's actual orbs had previously been stolen by somebody else. Following examining the surviving spheres, the lady proved they were authentic despite their impossible might. Suspicion covered her heart as she realized only a period close to the sacred might create such extraordinary artifacts. The mysterious lady mocked the aristocrat and warned him that his only worth was loyalty. Boredom overtaken her ideas as she weighed destroying the entire realm without delay. Elsewhere, Tomoya journeyed toward the Silver Canine territory after getting advice from the former emperor's family. A gigantic canine abruptly arrived to head the party, leaving Tomoya stunned by its enormous presence. The great canine greeted Tomoya quietly and acknowledged him as the fresh Silver Canine Emperor. Giant Canine stated that its child had spoken regarding Tomoya ahead dying from the insanity. Tomoya heard closely and admitted he yet did not fully understand the situation nearby the hex. After learning the facts, the canine recognized the disaster was caused by the Calamity Star Hex. Manny Fenris had previously suffered from the hex after witnessing its effects numerous times ahead. The fearsome might gradually overtaken victims with constant bloodlust until their consciousness completely disappeared. Wolf clarified that the curse was created long ago after a fiend overtaken insanity inside itself. Tomoya learned the Silver Canine Sovereign might not escape the hex once it fully took hold. Ahead parting, the canine accepted the soul crystal and finally found calm without remorse. Shortly after, the canine asked Tomoya to fulfill one last appeal involving a past companion. Title of Princess Hildegard from the Dorum realm was silently revealed ahead the meeting ceased. Giant Silver Canine asked for aid reaching the palace where the queen remained trapped within its enormous form. After learning the appeal, the youthful male learned the canine no longer had enough strength. Shortly, the maiden took a glowing sphere containing the Silver Canine Emperor's spirit. Elsewhere, the young male recognized the sphere would allow the canine to possess Lucia's form. In the finish, the canine clarified its awareness would disappear simultaneously. The sphere broke. Lucia understood the wolf's wish to meet its beloved once anew. Still, if the meeting might never really happen. With sympathy in her spirit, she took the sorrow of fating somebody crucial. He recognized Lucia's spirit had previously vanished after reincarnating into other realm long ago. After getting the wolf's gratitude, Lucia abruptly sensed a powerful altar spreading through her form. Overwhelming power burst from Lucia, deeply increasing her strength past anything she had experienced ahead. Silver Canine tied its awareness to Lucia and alerted her to use the borrowed might only when necessary. Lucia blocked he since she yet had unfinished business to manage initial. Jointly, they reached the ruins of Lucia's settlement, where only broken tombs. Though sorrow covered the area, Lucia praised him sincerely for bringing her there one last years. At that point, each of them silently shared the very grief over souls that had already ended. Lucia kissed the youthful male and praised him sincerely for aiding her regain a second. Warm feelings covered her spirit as she admitted her love while learning the name Sayaka once again after so long, accepted her emotions, and pledged to spend extra years with her under the title she treasured most. They returned to the palace where a crucial fighter had been delayed for their coming. He for reaching a rank of power mighty enough to surpass normal Silver Fenris. The past fighter believed the young man would continue growing mightier and eventually rise far beyond his present tier. Amid their discussion, the young male stated he had purchased a slave maiden from a merchant earlier. Fighter formally transferred ownership of Soniel to the youthful male after the cancelled sale. Soniel gladly took remaining by his side as her fresh owner. Ahead, the discussion ceased. The fighter abruptly brought up the mysterious disappearance of the godman once anew. Reports stated that the godman vanished shortly after battling the Fenrid and was not faced anew afterward. Latter, inspectors uncovered proof connecting him to unlawful commerce paths. Pathfinder acknowledged the investigation had collapsed to uncover any mastermind working away the scenes. Everyone gathered within the regal room as the queen finally reached before the assembled party. Tomoya seemed startled when the queen quietly greeted everybody and asked them to raise their heads. She stated she had been delayed for the young male and instantly recognized him upon his coming. Shock spread through the room when the young male realized the queen resembled somebody he once knew ahead reincarnating. Monarch quietly approached while the rest wondered about his unusual actions. Afterward, the youthful male apologized for masking information about the latest combat. In the finish, he praised the monarch for dodging conflict with the Silver Fenrir race. She grew emotional after hearing the Silver Wolf Emperor had delivered Lucia's last report through the young male. Lucia confirmed that the monarch had always kept a unique place in her spirit despite the passing ages, formally presented herself as the present vessel tied to the past Silver Canine Emperor. Tears covered the queen's gaze when Lucia approached her and stated her actual background from long ago, hugged warmly following, eventually reuniting anew following many ages of separation. The monarch acknowledged how lonely life had grown after Lucia vanished from her side many ages ago. Elsewhere, Lucia clarified that years and fate had separated them into completely different worlds that might never really reconnect. Monarch still desired to spend extra peaceful instants jointly like the past. Sadly, Lucia apologized because their meeting only lasted long enough for a last goodbye ahead another separation reached. Silently desired they might continue noticing each other despite the painful reality among them. The queen pleaded Lucia to deliver a proper goodbye ahead, leaving once anew after their long-awaited meeting. She gradually acknowledged she no longer intended to recovery to her earlier existence anymore. Hostile tremors shook the palace while Lucia noticed an approaching threat from beyond the city walls. Guards discovered anything vast had struck into the inner district and caused enormous destruction close. Gigantic canine arrived inside the capital, towering over the surrounding buildings and spreading alarm everywhere. The monarch instantly recognized the giant wolf beyond the palace and understood the threat surrounding the city. Tomoya knelt ahead the monarch and readied to guide her off from the collapsing area. He held the monarch via the air while the enormous canine went below the damaged buildings. She recalled happier nights spent beside Charna ahead regal tasks forced them away. Charna admitted she dodged remaining jointly since the queen would suffer for defending a demonic beast. Talked warmly about building peaceful homes jointly again if the armies might still be used openly. Soon afterward, Charna silently admitted the years for their last goodbye had finally reached at last. Tomoya praised Charna sincerely for defending him, and pledged to honor the debt carried inside Lucia's form. Elsewhere, Hildegard tearfully exchanged last remarks with Charna while wishing for her friend's joy and security. Hildegard gently touched Charna's features and bid her a calm last remainder. She honored the dropped canine while celebrating the hero who shielded the realm. Tomoya earned the noble name Delta from the monarch after defending the kingdom from threat. Though concerned regarding prospect threats, he accepted the responsibility to stay the country stable and prevent disorder. To escape political issues, careful oversight of his terrain grew his main duty. Latter, he stated his actual origin from other realm, astonishing the queen. Elsewhere, ancient history linked his realm to forgotten names from the former. The monarch formally announced Tomoya as the Delta nobleman and readied another benefit for his service. Shortly after, Ariel Soldat Ragustein promised loyalty and requested approval to act under his kin. Unexpectedly, her regal ground was removed, turning her into Tomoya's individual knight and minion. Without delay, Ariel left her regal profile to dedicate self fully to him. Afterward, Tomoya took her choice and started working with her as his reliable companion. Late at evening, Tomoya woke after learning somebody call from beyond his chamber, located at the door. Ariel reached him because she might not sleep and desired to stay close. Amid their discussion, she chose to reveal facts about her painful former homeland. Lengthy ago, the island realm of Markafork was ruined after the Fiend Lord's forces invaded its territory. Following fleeing the catastrophe, Ariel survived for ages by working as a mercenary and rental slave. Ariel clarified that her uncle arranged her work via a slave trading house following her homeland fell. Remorse covered her thoughts as she faulted herself for failing to guard her country and beings. Gradually, she lowered self ahead Tomoya and showed total loyalty toward him. With deep thanks, Ariel pledged to devote her life to serving and assisting her owner for many ages. Eventually, Tomoya arrived away his palm while she bowed respectfully ahead him. Tomoya spotted Ariel's unusual condition while his unique skill affected each of their bodies and feelings. Under the control of the ability, Ariel fully devoted self to him without defiance. The following time, Tomoya reached a trading company to discuss Ariel's background and prospect concern. Company owner stated connections to the dropped Markafork realm via his kin history. Surprisingly, the male later admitted that he had previously lived for extra than 100's ages. The merchant clarified that Markafork had been ruined by fiends lengthy ago despite sharing the very bloodline. After testing Tomoya's motives, the past male apologized and displayed respect toward Ariel's regal heritage. Tomoya then gave a huge payment to formally secure Soniel's freedom and prospect security. Elsewhere, Ariel wondered why such a successful breadwinner had ever been traded off from the company. In the finish, Tomoya chose to focus on business matters while noting Soniel's actual worth. He chose to inspect the slaves available in the trading company ahead taking any purchases. Merchant collected everybody jointly and ready to present each candidate one by one. Soon, the initial slave filled the office while the party silently watched his appearance, presented personally with unusual assurance and displayed an overwhelming bodily presence disturbed by the scene. Tomoya rapidly ignored the initial candidate and went on to the following selection. A young beastkin maiden abruptly charged toward Tomoya and gladly embraced him within the office. The merchant clarified that she was a scarce species lately purchased from other noble kin. Interested regarding her background, Tomoya heard as the merchant shared facts about her unusual powers and race. Her power would deeply increase following reaching maturity, despite her small look. Following finishing the introduction, the merchant readied to send the maiden back while she stayed fastened to Tomoya. Michelle stayed near to Tomoya while displaying potent fondness toward him within the trading company. Unexpectedly, her emotions swiftly increased, making Tomoya to become uncertain by the abrupt detachment. Shortly after, the merchant presented other scarce slave that had not arrived for many decades. A silent ancient elf filled the room and quietly stood ahead everybody during the introduction. When asked about her years, the elf stated she was over 700 ages past, leaving Tomoya speechless. Ancient elf clarified that only somebody accepted by her race might become her true owner. Tomoya used his appraisal ability and consented to test her response via bodily contact. They touched hands. Tinalina responded strongly and instantly held closely to Tomoya in enthusiasm. After noticing her emotions grow genuine, Tomoya decided to purchase each Michelle and Tinalina jointly. Soon afterward, the two women formally joined Tomoya and presented personally as his fresh companions. Tomoya reached at a vast estate after walking the new realm. Within the mansion, a servant called Marianne greeted him and guided him through the residence. Shortly after, Marianne presented self as Tomoya's individual servant and caretaker. Amid their walk, the party discovered Marianne had once been an adventurer ahead retiring from active tasks. Afterward, Tomoya found Marianne was formerly an S-ranked adventurer met for her outstanding fighting power. Maria continued directing Tomoya through the estate while the rest listened to accounts about her reputation and former achievements amid the talk. Tomoya discovered Maria simultaneously shielded the imperial court. Though Maria possessed overwhelming power, she chose to devote herself to serving Tomoya after witnessing his bravery amid the latest incident. Afterward, Maria noticed the worm emperor's might flowing within Tomoya. She stayed at the estate to assist Tomoya and supervise the maids amid his absence. Maria clarified her loyalty to Tomoya and viewed supporting him as extra crucial than profile or rewards. Tomoya sent its oversight under Maria's supervision while the rest silently watched. Shortly following, Maria asked a formal slave contract to strengthen her connection with Tomoya and stay by his position. Though startled, Tomoya took the agreement and finished the contract without delay. Following the ceremony, Maria sensed an unfamiliar kindness while Tomoya's unique power continued growing mightier. His unique leader power strengthened Maria and connected her might straight to his growing influence. Maria then clarified that each servant serving Tomoya would work jointly under her advice. Several women from Lucia's village reached at the estate and formally joined the maid party under Tomoya's authority. The newly hired maids showed thanks for getting defense, guidance, elsewhere. Maria continued organizing the estate while cooking the inexperienced maids for prospect tasks. Tomoya listened as the maids praised him for changing their souls and taking them a safer future within the estate. Later, he discovered many women had suffered after fading their home and period separated through slave trading. Lucia responded angrily after learning the painful facts away the women past experiences and hardships. Maids formally promised personally to Tomoya while he accepted responsibility for defending everybody under his concern. That night, Tomoya spent closed years with the newly accepted women within the estate. Tina nervously approached Tomoya and wished to build a memorable initial experience with him within the estate. He quietly urged Tina to relax and act according to her personal emotions and ease. Slowly, Tina grew less tense following recognizing Tomoya intended to treat her gently. Though Tina seemed young since of her race, Tomoya realized her actual age and listened carefully to her worries. Tomoya reassured Tina and stayed considerate at her feelings throughout the evening. They grew nearer amid the night as they slowly shared their emotions and increased their faith in each other. Tina questioned Tomoya to keep treating her gently while surviving near him. Shortly after, Ariel nervously filled the room and readied herself for her own closed years with Tomoya. He urged Ariel to relax and speak honestly rather of forcing self to act ripen. Ariel sensed relieved after Tomoya accepted her emotions and enabled her to advance peacefully. Grew embarrassed while Tomoya comforted her and commended her look without taking fun of her insecurities. Later, the women collected nearby Tomoya within the estate and rested peacefully beside him after the long day. Tina silently relaxed versus Tomoya and sensed comforted by the kindness. Other girl gladly stopped on Tomoya's lap while enjoying the calm atmosphere within the estate. Woman stayed near jointly and appreciated the peaceful life they had finally obtained. Tomoya's peaceful nights with the women began changing his life and taking his adventures much extra meaningful. Elsewhere, Tomoya recognized his fresh life in other realm had finally become stable and fulfilling. A male struck into an unusual realm after a bright sunlight struck the mountains. After checking the region, he recognized the realm had frail sorcery and clean air. Soon, he readied a potion and chose to stay secret while delay for aid. From a stony hill, he noticed demonic creatures close and carefully watched the woods. Hugai's ants arrived ahead him, revealing the deadly wildlife living in the region. The male used the giant ants for an experiment and planted deadly seeds between them. A little later, much off, the guild headquarters grew the center of many new requests after latest events increased activity through the city. A clerk rewarded successful tasks with orb resources collected from finished jobs. Adventurer took mightier tasks and readied to sell the collected crystals. Latter, he filled the woods anew and hunted intense hellhounds amid another material collection task. A damaged dungeon remained open, following other deadly robs shook the underground ruins. Tomoya and his party fallen trolls and lizardmen ahead securely coming from the mission jointly. Clerk informed Tomoya that the association owner desired to meet him shortly. She stated that an S-rank appeal might emerge while happily mentioning her latest promotion. Latter, Tomoya examined his deepening abilities and recognized his fighting might had already surpassed 1 million. Tomoya reviewed his unique abilities and discovered that many secret bonuses deeply increased his fighting strength. Linked to him continued raising their own might as their abilities gradually raised each time. Many members yet had not arrived their limits, despite gaining enormous experience from repeated conflicts. Latter, single companion proposed that Tomoya should eventually bring a fall after handling constant missions. He recognized he had spent almost all his years working since the Fenrir event. Tomoya briefly joked regarding his past working habits while discussing the idea of forming a remainder from tasks. Shortly after, he chose to finish Oldwin's urgent appeal ahead, considering about a vacation. Jointly with his companion, Tomoya reached the guildmaster's room and politely filled the chamber. Within, the guild owner confirmed Tomoya's latest victory versus trolls. After learning the report, the guild owner readied to discuss a crucial issue that required Tomoya's attention. Clarified that a town beside the Spirit Woods had recently dropped into threat because of monster activity. Hugage groups of killer ants arrived through the grasslands east of the village. One companion alerted that the ants grew dangerous since they amplified rapidly. Although similar incidents occurred each few ages, the townspeople usually readied ahead the attacks began. This year's, however, the killer ants had already built nests beside the town, making terror between the local residents. Guild owner clarified unusual theory claiming that the Fiend Lord's appearance had influenced the latest monster outbreaks. Shortly after, Tomoya discovered that the Fiend Master was considered a fearsome existence connected to chaos. Tomoya recognized his rebirth might have been meant to halt the Fiend Master, chose to grow mightier initial since he yet valued the peaceful life he regained with his companions. With that determination, Tomoya treated each combat as preparation for the last battle forward. Tomoya learned that the latest monster assaults were caused by a powerful fiend ruler gathering close creatures. Realm readied a huge suppression forces while adventurers and scouts went towards Soylent first. He recognized normal groups would arrive too late to aid the village rapidly. Past recollections from his earlier life rendered him notice the exhaustion shown in the guild master's features. Since of that, Tomoya chose to head at Soylent ahead the main forces departed. The guild owner alerted Tomoya that the beast problem might grow much worse if nobody acted immediately. Though reluctant at initial, Tomoya accepted the appeal after recognizing the town remained in serious threat. Guild owner praised him and readied everybody for the upcoming travels toward the village. Elsewhere, Tomoya's party talked the yearly killer ant outbreaks. One experienced warrior clarified that the ants grew extremely dangerous whenever huge nests formed near mortal settlements. Clarified that a mighty allied forces barely defeated the killer ants ages ago after suffering major losses. Other warrior recalled a similar disaster amid the goblin rob when the Grand Kaiser arrived too late. They talked how intelligent Kaiser species had lately began transforming into mightier forms extra often. Tomoya linked the unusual differences to the Fiend Lord's look. Ahead the travels started. One maid insisted on cooking breakfast while aiding organize the trip. Maria asked Tomoya for a small advantage while cooking goods for the coming travels. Soon after, Tomoya clarified his idea of taking dragon food sandwiches as travel meal for the party. She closely readied many kinds of sandwiches, forming meals suitable for long trips and conflicts. He spotted Maria's emotions toward him had deepened much mightier over years. Still so, Tomoya chose to escape rushing into romance and focused on treating everybody fairly. Ahead leaving Maria warmly saw Tomoya off while the journey carriage waited beyond the estate gates. Elsewhere, the other women rapidly spotted Maria's cheerful mood after spending years with him earlier. Party freely admitted that everybody previously realized Tomoya's importance to them. With arrangements total, Tomoya eventually started the long travels towards Soylent. A silent route led towards Soylent City, while the region remained unaware of the threat close. Master Fredane reported that killer ants had gathered nests near to the village after many residents were previously killed. Deep within the caves, numerous ants collected as their colony grew faster than anticipated. Elsewhere, the young adventurer intended to coordinate with the city troops rather of striking alone. After reaching village, the party filled a crowded cafeteria ahead, starting their investigation. Within the cafeteria, the explorers presented personally, while the party reacted with surprise towards Sonial's presence. Learning the famous berserker's title made the youthful lady overwhelmed and unable to hide her embarrassment. Enthusiasm rapidly grew through the table as the explorers admired Sonial like a legendary hero. They clarified that her spear methods had fallen many mighty enemies ahead. Later that evening, the youthful male dodged, revealing his actual origin while listening to their admiration for Sonial. Party departed at the killer ant nest while discussing the risks to lay forward. Advice about the ants' acid assaults compelled everybody to stay careful with their arms amid the approach. A headlong, giant warrior ants appeared through the field and barred the group's path. After checking the monster's power, the youthful adventurer moved ahead to face the creature straight. At the very ears, the elf launched a flame magic that struck the killer ant with explosive power. She charged forward jointly as the elf struck the killer ant ahead. It might strike again. Other fighter rapidly followed with a sharp slash that forced the monster backward through the earth. Elsewhere, the young adventurer organized the party and commanded everybody to protect Tina from threat. Other ant abruptly targeted Sonial from away while the party struggled to react in years. Tomoya immediately emitted a mighty slash to halt the incoming strike. Mighty slash cut through the killer ant and shielded Sonial ahead the creature might strike anew. Tomoya discovered an unusual fresh blade ability from the dropped enemy. While examining the arm, he recognized the technique might strike distant enemies by bending the blade openly. He triggered a scanning power to inspect the tunnel's secret within the nest. Search stated numerous violent creatures delay farther underground as the dangerous mission continued. The scan stated hundreds of killer ants secret within the nest. After confirming the foe positions, the young adventurer triggered a signaling skill to track each violent target. Glowing markers rapidly spread through the area while the party observed his unusual technique with surprise. Intense magic encircled his form as he readied to launch a huge strike against the colony. Using his fresh blade abilities, he released numerous strikes that pierced through the approaching killer ants. Party remained between the fallen ants while the young adventurer confirmed their triumph. He clarified that everyone's powers had increased deeply since of the intense battle. However, the discussion stated that the killer ants possessed much higher power than anyone originally anticipated. Information about earlier conflicts made the situation emerge still extra dangerous for the surrounding region. Ahead departing, the party collected resources from the destroyed nest while cooking for future threats. Following clearing the nest, the youthful adventurer recovered precious resources. The party responded with surprise after hearing he had already collected all the foe ruins by himself. The rest recognized his unusual storage ability deeply surpassed typical methods. They proved that other close nests had already been destroyed amid the mission. Next to task, the party came to the capital and reported the successful extermination to the local master. Local master realized the rising ant ranks might build a major danger for the region. Further discussion stated that the fallen queen possessed strength much beyond ordinary monsters encountered ahead. Concerns continued deepening as they likened the ants' dangerous figures with the might of earlier enemies. Party clarified that killer ants hunted people differently from goblins because they treated beings as meal. Master commanded soldiers to keep looking close areas for additional nests. Single week afterward, the youthful adventurer alerted the rest that provoking the killer ants would only increase casualties. Anxious noble greeted uneasily while praising him for the earlier support. Though the noble apologized for his earlier actions, the party spotted his attitude had altered completely, a head separating. The young adventurer warned everybody to stay careful since the enemy possessed dangerous skills. He made the party and continued his activities while rest observed from away. While speaking with the seasoned explorers, the youthful male learned they had met each other for many decades. They clarified that the forces and explorers intended to destroy the surviving ant nests separately. Tomoya recognized an enormous concentration of ants had collected in single area. Feeling suspicious about the situation, he consented to directly investigate the deadly region with the rest. Abruptly, an armored messenger reached and alerted everybody that 7 ant kaisers had arrived nearby. While investigating the field, the party abruptly witnessed the 7 ant kaisers disappear at the very ears. A hostile explosion shook the earth as an unusual figure appeared from the haze and lightning. The terrifying creature revealed itself as an advanced empress whose overwhelming might much surpassed each ant encountered ahead.